Hey guys, I've been playing a lot of Nioh 2 over the past couple of weeks. And this time, you're not an Irish lad. Nope, you're some random OG character made purely out of sliders. Oops, my finger slipped. Now this time you get to cosplay as your own anime samurai demon hunter with cheekbones and physics that you'll never have in real life. But hey, at least this time you can play with Booba and it doesn't cost you half your mortgage. The best part about Nioh 2 is that this time you're a more cultural fitting protagonist because you're legally supposed to be in this country. Take that, William. And it turns out you're half human, half yokai, which unfortunately due to the class system in Japan during the Shogun era means we're pretty much an unpaid intern for every warlord in Japan. It's basically Uber Eats for demon slaying. And you're just nodding along like, sure boss, I'll fight Satan again for a magical rock. Why not? The whole time while loot rains from the sky like Mr. Beast started his own Borderlands TV show. Oh boy, another sword with 2% better lighting resistance. Guess I'll just spend 3 hours in the blacksmith menu doing insane calculations to change my entire build because of this. Awesome! Love this game. There is way more Yaokai to fight this time around, and don't worry, you can become one too. Which seems awfully familiar, right? This basically means we're cosplaying as the monster that just kicked our ass 5 times in a row. Peak power fantasy. Nioh 2 doesn't care about your feelings, your free time, or your controller warranty. It just says, hey, you want to get bullied by historical and mythological people at the same time as well? And we say yeah. Yeah, we do. Because nothing screams more fun than dying 27 times to an oversized, disabled baby. So Nioh 2, was it really that good? Well, you guys in the last video seemed to like this one a lot more than the original Nioh 1, so let's see if I can trigger you with a classic Thai L take and try and farm some of that engagement. So let's take a look. So a few days ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, I got married between the last video and this one, so I don't even really know who I am anymore. Joke's on Mrs. Thai, she just inherited all my tax debt. My goal was to jump straight onto this after getting hitched, but unfortunately someone decided to go off the wedding registry and generously gift us COVID, so I am still very sick. Sorry about that. But previously I made a video looking at Nioh 1 and was honestly super impressed with just how good that game was. And if you haven't checked that out, be sure to click on screen right now, like, subscribe, okay, thanks, love you, bye. It was a pretty good video. So of course I wanted a second helping of this item management simulator game. And no better way than jumping straight into the sequel that everyone seems to really praise and adore. Development for Nioh 2 was so much more streamlined and far less chaotic than the original. Granted, they just reused, honestly, about half the game of Nioh 1 and Nioh 2, and then just slapped a big old number on the box. And that's probably my biggest criticism with Nioh 2, as it does seem quite samey, especially when they have just copy and pasted stuff. But 2.5 years later after Nioh 1, Team Ninja popped out another title, Nioh 2. And considering the original took a goddamn long ass time, that's pretty impressive. Now I won't deep dive too much into the core gameplay mechanics because I did that in Nioh 1, again, go watch that video. As these two games are pretty similar, but there are some real cool and new stuff for us to look at. Yes, there is an absurd amount of loot, enemies, and bosses that can crack you open like a can of liquid death when you're trying to look cool in front of your alcoholic friends. And so much fan service. No, not that kind. Yes, that kind. Some crazy in-depth character building and just far more stellar gameplay sections that I fell in love with in Nioh 1. And though Team Ninja doesn't reinvent the wheel, Nioh 2 definitely has that sort of if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach with the sequel. And it's kind of weird. I know I do critiques on this channel, but I kind of love and hate it at the same time. I guess I'm just the biggest fence sitter on YouTube. The issue is there's a fine line between being nostalgic and keeping the identity of the original and just coming off lazy. And Team Ninja just didn't do enough of that in my opinion, so it does feel a little bit more lazy than it does than paying respect to the original title. Nioh 2 takes place before, during, and after the first game. Oh, it's gonna be one of those games. I mean, it's cool. We get more backstories to characters we bitch slapped in Nioh 1, and we do wrap up with some characters from the first game that didn't really get a decent end to their story, but again, this is kind of shallow to me. For example, seeing William again was great. Not gonna lie, when he pops up, I kind of felt something. You know, he was our boy from the first game. It was nice to see him again. But it comes across more like a cameo than anything. Like, there should have been a crowd going woo, yay, clapping as he walked in. And sure, probably that was what was intended, just a little something for OG fans. But I just feel like, why bother if it's not going to go anywhere? He's not here for very long, and we just get a quick little update on his life, and that's it. They also bring back some of the old boss fights from the first game, and for some reason it seems to only be the forgettable ones from the first game. None of the heavy hitters that really stuck with me. Why? The game took less than 3 years to drop. Did they really need to do this nostalgia trip for a game that was kind of still new and people were still grinding the post game in Nioh 1 when Nioh 2 came out? I don't know, I had the same issue with Dark Souls 3 for doing the same shit. And that game at least had a few more years under its belt to warrant the "Hey Lois, remember the time" bit that the whole game was built around. Alright, so we're a few minutes into the video. Engagement is probably falling off pretty hard. Time to say something that's gonna piss people off. So with Nioh 2, even with the new mechanics, story, levels, new weapons, armor, all that good stuff that got added in, I still feel like Nioh 1 was the more fleshed out and superior title. Oh boy, I can already hear the YouTube comments now. Good job, me. Seriously though, maybe it's just that I played these back to back, or I'm just a sucker for a more fleshed out protag, but the pacing and story just felt like it hit more with the original. Sure, it's cool to make your own character this time. Having a big boobied ninja slayer was great, but like with any game that has customizable characters, that means we don't have much input throughout the entire story. We just kind of nod and booby jiggle all over the place. And sure, William was a piece of wood most of the time, didn't have much personality, but I kind of linked that to the fact that he was doing a fish out of water story. You know, he was in a new country where he legally shouldn't have been here. Naughty, naughty William. But it did feel like William was more involved. Not so much now. Gameplay wise, the title follows Nioh 1 beat for beat. All the previous weapons are back with updated move pools and talents, but we also get a few newbies, dual axes, switchblades, fists, all that make their debut in this game. I played with the switchglaive a little bit at the start, and going from a big old knife to a heavy hitting scythe was really cool, and I thought this was going to be my bread and butter. But the playstyle was a little bit slow at the start, and I'm going to be honest, I could hear the dual swords calling me again. So I decided to compromise and try out the new weapon, the fists. Oh my god, I love these things so much. These bad boys are like the dual swords on crack. The speed and combo potential with these things is near endless. Not gonna lie, they start off pretty weak and made a few early game bosses way more challenging, but once the build starts to take form and you get more and more combo multipliers, these start to shred enemy health bars very quickly, especially if you're throwing status elements on those. And not gonna lie, they give some pretty sick animations. But bosses, is it me or does Nioh 2 front load their bosses with some of the most horrible fights? The game loves a handicap fight. One of my first walls was the giant poison snake that just summons a bunch of little poison snakes and makes it kind of like a 3v1. This fight dragged on way longer than it should have. And this kind of keeps up with the theming of this game. There's a new mechanic called the Yokai realm, where bosses will force you into a layer of their dimension, which not only resets all of the debuffs you've worked to get onto that boss, but it also gives them a damage and movement buff, as well as new moves for you to now have to learn. While at the same time will lower your stam regeneration, which will make fights feel even more sluggy and such a drag to fight through. I don't know, this mechanic was cool in like the levels. I liked going into these realms and fighting the standard enemy NPCs. But for the bosses, this dragged for me. I'm not a fan of this mechanic. I primarily used lightning based weapons. Again, I know, kind of cringe, but that slowdowns enemies once you fill the gauge on them, which with the fists is insanely easy. One combo, bam, you have got your status element inflicted. This then slows down the enemy's movesets, which honestly made the game a lot easier, but I could really see this being an issue if you didn't go this route. And these fights would take even longer. I don't know, I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Word of advice though, do not lock on during this fight. It will hurt you way more than it will help you. I can't tell you how many times the camera screwed me over in this fight. And also make sure you remove all the poison in the level before you take on this boss. Because if you don't, there will be poison puddles in the arena for you to deal with as well, which will make an obnoxious fight way more obnoxious. Level structure is just like Nioh 1. Main missions with the red icon progress the story. The black ones will pop up after you've completed a main mission. These are side missions, each that are leveled to show their difficulty. New to Nioh 2 is the blue online missions. Now, I'm not actually entirely too sure why these are different. They just feel like more side missions to me, but I could be missing the online component for these. So again, let me know why these are blue. It would be pretty cool. I'm assuming it's something to do with the multiplayer, but I didn't really dive into that too much. In Nioh 2, the yokai abilities are insanely cool. Now, when you're taking out a yokai, you have a chance to acquire their heart, which when you attach it to your guardian spirit, will give you their power in one of their moves. These are huge when it comes to customizing your character and doing your build. There is so many of these. And in true Nioh fashion, of course, they have completely different stat buffs, even between the same yokai move. You could find 5 of the exact same heart. They will have different stats. So it's another avenue to farm and grind to get that perfect build. My personal favorite is the Booby Fox pinwheel move you can get, I'd say about 1/3 into the game. This does so much damage, so much stamina damage on enemies and bosses due to its consecutive hits that it became a mainstay in my build. And it also always tends to leave a full tick of the fire debuff, which means they'll take damage over time. You can have 3 abilities at any given time, but this was the only one I ever really used. It was so good for tough fights and especially for groups of enemies that overwhelmed me. For the other 2, I tend to just pick stuff that gave me a decent stat buff, or one of the green little dude's souls, because it increased my effectiveness of their blessings, which meant I had a lot of elixirs by the end of the game. So that means in Nioh 2, you have the yokai abilities, your guardian spirit stat buffs, your talent trees, your weapons, your armor, challenges that you complete that give you a buff of your choice that are randomized, pendants, and let's not forget just pure leveling up. That's 8 different systems in Nioh that help you customize your samurai ninja mummy. That's a lot. I really don't get how I can manage all of this, but my kitchen is an absolute dumpster fire. Don't worry guys, I'm just letting them soak. I'm honestly incredibly impressed they were able to expand an already insanely in-depth system for building a character. I said it in Nioh 1, but especially in Nioh 2, this has kind of killed that classic Souls-like gameplay style for me. You can literally fine-tune and build any kind of playstyle you want in Nioh, and you do not get that freedom in any other Souls-like to my knowledge. You can summon revenants just like in Nioh 1 for some tough fights and good armor drops, but new to Nioh 2 is the blue revenants. These are just like the Dark Souls summon signs. Players can leave their character to be summoned from other players. When you use these, it will bring in a NPC version of that player's build to help you with the level or even a boss. It's pretty nice for players that struggle or are having difficulty with a specific wall, but I do feel like it takes away from some of these bosses. The beauty of Nioh 1 was that you had to overcome these challenges yourself. In Nioh 2, you can always veto that and summon in a couple of revenants to kind of make the fight easy. It's for that reason I didn't actually use the summons, and it's not because the one I did accidentally summon literally showed me how uncreative my custom character was. That's totally not the reason. Also, apparently I have 2 twins in this game. But why are we cleansing the yokai yet again? And why is it different, except the fact that we're legally supposed to be here this time? Well, for that we need to look at the story, and like with Nioh 1, there are some fun real-world comparisons. So this time around, you play as your own creation. This system is honestly pretty in-depth. People have made some insanely good OCs with this system, and again, absolutely destroys Miyazaki's games, which has been using the same character creator since Demon Souls. Your character is a shiftling, half yokai and half human. Mother and father are out of the picture, and all you really have is this glowy sword that was passed down through your family. After being attacked in your little homie hut, you deal with a yokai causing mischief, and this is the first big enemy not 5 minutes into the game, and is honestly the biggest wall in the entire game. This Bojack looking ass motherfucker probably has a kill count that's on par with the tree sentinel at the start of Elden Ring. He killed me 20 to 30 times. Granted, we have no level ups, no gear, we're going in basic bitch kit. And yeah, he checked my privilege a few times. I think this is supposed to be like the Asylum Demon, the fight you avoid and come back to, because you're far too weak to deal with it. But honestly, I'm a gamer, I have to be good at something, I guess. So I'd rather slowly learn this guy's movements and have the perfect run against him, chipping at his health bar bit by bit, than come back later. And honestly, 100% worth it. It took me like an hour, but the victory, oh, that Souls-like euphoria. Oh, I love it. This is why I play these games. Did anyone else grind this guy out like right at the start of the game, or did you leave and come back once you got some gear and leveled up? Again, let me know in the comments. To be fair, it doesn't really matter. His older brother is the level's boss, so you're killing one of these guys regardless. Once you take out your first main boss, our character loses control and their yokai side starts to take over, till this funny little monkey man, I don't know if I can say that, Tokichiro, stops the crash out with a glowy rock. It's here where we basically get adopted by the merchant and head off to help him become a big name in Japan. And he also calls us Hide, or Hyde, think it's Hide. So Tokichiro is based off an IRL person, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a peasant man that quickly became one of the most powerful men in Japan. Which honestly, a glow up like that in the Son Goku era, that's really rare. You gotta respect the grind on that one. And he was also worldly known as the monkey due to the mannerisms that he had in real life. So yeah, just like Tokichiro in the game. Later in the game, Hide and Tokichiro decide to change their name to become Hideyoshi, which again, a nice nod to the historical figure they're completely ripping off. Anyway, our booby ninja and Tokichiro head off to meet Nobunaga, the guy that got resurrected in the first game and quickly dipped halfway through a boss fight. Still not quite over that. So like I mentioned, this game takes place before the events of the first game, and I like getting a bit of a backstory to him, his wife, and his daughter through Nioh 2, as it kind of explains and gives you a bit more emotional connection to these characters that you fought very briefly in Nioh 1. Same with characters like Hanzo. It's really nice to see these guys again. It's a shame that it does kind of feel like our character is just kind of third wheeling these events. We're treated more like just a dog that gets pointed at the nearest yokai to kill. Tokichiro is more fleshed out personality wise, but all he really wants to do is have his own empire because, I mean, if you want to stop two empires from going to war with each other, you might as well throw your hat in the ring, I guess. Hopefully it doesn't go to his head. There are a few new faces in the game. During our journey, we meet Jason Momoa, a fishman yokai that just likes to hang out with the cuter yokais. I like him. It's pretty cool. And Mumyo, a woman that comes from a yokai hunting clan. She doesn't like us. She's a little bit racist. While we're working under Nobunaga, we basically help him rise to power. Well, we do. Our character does. Tokichiro just kind of chills out most of the time till the Emrita starts to really start corrupting him. Oh, and there's also this Sharingan guy looking dude that keeps popping up. I might have missed something during the story, but he's pretty much just like evil, right? Like an evil entity, and is kind of the reason why everyone gets corrupted by Amrita. We see a lot of him throughout the game, but it's almost always, oh, you defeated the guy I was controlling. Well, on to the next one, bye. He does this like 5 times in the story, and it really does get kind of old chasing him around the country, and then later on through time. Yes, time travel. There's time travel in my feudal Japan video game. Huh? While helping Tokichiro out, we eventually meet this cool looking samurai who's a bit horny. She can also turn into a yokai. That's because it turns out this is your twin sister or brother depending on your character's gender, and I'm gonna be honest, this is a pretty cool twist. It's just a shame that it's one boss fight and it doesn't really go anywhere after this. It's cool fighting someone that can just turn into the exact same yokai ability as our character, but kind of a misstep on the developer side, because if there's one person I want to kick the shit out the most, it's myself. I have self-esteem issues, don't judge. Anyway, Tokichiro starts to get a little bit of the red eye and starts kind of being a bit of a dick, thanks to the Emrita he keeps collecting, to the point where he just starts cheap-shotting elite figures that we had to deal with in boss arenas. Our character eventually has enough of this and dips. We get to see Nobunaga die with his wife, and then Tokichiro basically just takes the reins of Japan thanks to this. He falls in love with a castle. Yes, I know what I said. No, seriously, this ain't some like Christian shit. He literally falls in love with a sentient castle. Like, I know he really wanted to build this thing, but I don't know, man. This is a bit creepy. And she's also a bit of a bitch. I've seen enough hentai to know why Chiro is into this. We get quite a few of the look how big the boss is fights, and again, they are so bad, and they are far worse than Nioh 1. Some of these feel like something ripped straight out of a PS2 game. They're so boring and poorly made. You fight this giant tree beast and the hitboxes are so out of whack. I don't understand how this got playtested and approved. And the wife castle that we defeat, it's just the dragon fight from the end of Nioh 1, just made worse somehow. Anyway, after killing Chiro's castle waifu thing, he mourns by throwing what I assume is a orgy. There's nothing but women here. And we didn't get invited, what the fuck? We gate crash this party and take him out, hopefully putting Japan at rest. But that's until Sharingan McGee decides, nope, I'm just gonna resurrect this guy and bring him back. This happens twice. We follow the rezzed Chiro to an underground Oa where he lets loose a drunk man Yaokai and the final boss from Nioh 1 DLC, the Ninetales. I think it's kind of cool that we get a little reference to what is eventually the biggest fight in Nioh 1. But we have a fight with Chiro and we take him out once and for all. It's not, don't worry. But this time, before the evil presence could jump into another body, we seal him inside ourselves and we go to sleep for a few years. That's when we get a nice little cutscene of William, and that's when Nioh 1 takes place, with William washing up on shore in Japan. The third act pretty much takes place after the last DLC of the first game, with William finding our booby OC and waking her up. This is honestly a pretty fun boss fight with William. The music hits so hard, it's so cool. I really wish they did do a little bit more. Like, if you had save data from Nioh 1, they would make the boss fight be the build you used in that game. I mean, that might be far too much work and probably not even possible, and maybe would make the boss fight impossible to beat. But man, it would have been cool fighting my dual sword build from that game. We beat William up. He's honestly not that strong, surprisingly, considering he saved all of Japan. And we get a little bit of slice of life with him. He ended up getting with Akatsu. They had a wee little baby. And it's cool. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. And this is really all we get. It's just a nice little nod. The dude got the girl and the other girl. What a legend. But we do a level with him where us and William chase down Maria. Oh yeah, Maria, the plot point that never actually got resolved in Nioh 1. We do it here. She's trying to res Tokichiro because this man cannot die. Everyone wants to res him. I don't think he's actually a monkey. I think he's a cat with how many lives he gets. She reses him thinking he is like this big bad emperor, but obviously it wasn't the case because he had the evil presence inside of him. By resurrecting Tokichiro, the evil presence comes back because he loves that meat suit. But before he can dive into Chiro's body, we intervene and get a boss fight with his final form. I love this fight. It's pretty tough. The dude uses every element in the game, which can be kind of annoying. Make sure you stock up on sake so you don't get an insane amount of debuffs. But during the fight, Tokichiro will send in his guardian spirit, the monkey, to help us out, and honestly, it just feels good having Tokichiro on our side. He was our bro at the start of the game, and then just progressively got more and more corrupted and became a bit of an asshole throughout the story, so it's cool to see it come full circle, and he's a nice guy again. With the evil presence defeated, evil was sealed away, but apparently not. Again, I played this game a few weeks ago and a lot of stuff IRL has happened, so I might have just forgotten some information. But it seems like in the present, he's defeated, but he's still around in the past that we have to go and deal with that too. Or he's escaped to the past. I don't really know why, but now we're just gonna go back in time and defeat this guy throughout the years. I don't get it. It's cool to do the time travel stuff and see different parts of feudal Japan and meet some of the other warriors who had the Yaokai slaying sword. And we even go as far back as the first human Yaokai samurai, which again is cool story-wise, but why are we doing it? I genuinely don't know. My favorite was definitely the first Samurai DLC, the last DLC that dropped for Nioh 2. The Samurai Shifling was pretty chill. You went to a village, you helped them out until the villagers got a little bit racist and acted out a little bit. To be fair, I do think the Yaokai overreacted a little bit, but yeah. Now, I think his distaste for humans in this moment is what birthed the evil Sharingan guy, like the evil presence we've been tracking down throughout history. Again, I'm just kind of pulling out of my ass. I probably missed something. It's cool to have some different set pieces, and it was the last DLC, this one, that they introduced the fist weapon, so massive W for that. But even the final boss of this game, the final challenge in Nioh 2 is just the base game final fight with a little bit more the creature from The Thing mixed in. And I don't really like this fight. It's just, again, same thing. He uses every element and some of his hitboxes a bit rough. I found it kind of boring and the game does not care. Every post-game submission after this has you refighting this guy. So I hope you enjoy this fight because you're going to do it a few times. I like Tokichiro's plotline, but once you just end up chasing this evil dude throughout time and different meat suits, I kind of just checked out story-wise. Probably personal issue, maybe I just don't have the attention span. But these games are long, man, and Nioh 2 took me a few extra hours in Nioh 1, around 70 to finish. It's just too long for such a thin plot to keep me engaged narratively. I mean, it's not why you play these games. Luckily, the gameplay is chef's kiss. Can't get enough of it, but yeah, it kind of bothers me that I did find Nioh 2 less engaging story-wise than Nioh 1. But again, could be because I missed a few key details with some of the main characters. For a sequel, it does almost everything right, adds to the core gameplay mechanics, gives more customization with the character creator, more bosses, way more levels, but it does get hit with a bit of repetitiveness, with you replaying levels constantly, just like you did in Nioh 1, and also replaying levels that you played in Nioh 1. Same with some of the bosses. That's just not okay. The DLC, though, was really fun to play in terms of gameplay. Story didn't really add anything for me. So yeah, I prefer Nioh 1, but 2 is not bad at all. These are both stellar titles, and any Souls-like fan should play them, but just be warned, it might make it kind of difficult to go back to the others. Thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry if I missed a few bits. Like I said, there was a few weeks break while making this video due to me getting financially tied to Mrs. Tai, and then the COVID hit us, and I don't know, man. I'm still very sick, as you could probably tell through my voice. So I'm rocking a high fever. I don't even know if I'm even making any sense, but thank you so much for being patient. I have some ideas for the next project, but that's going to happen after the honeymoon, so it might be a couple of weeks before I start that. I might post in the community tab just a few ideas and see what you guys think about it, but until I do that, as always, massive shout out to the guys and gals that support me over on Patreon. If you guys would also like to support me, please hit the link. You get a shout out at the end of every video. You guys are the bandages holding this channel's bouncy bits in place. Thank you, Pitstab, Ali Tato, Chris Spicer, and Critical Quacker. As always, stay safe out there, everyone, and stay fashionable, gents. Tai out. Peace.